Goosebumps with Jack Black was released in 2015. I'm not sure if anybody was asking for movie versions of the Goosebumps series, but could be so. Jack Black, I'm pretty sure, came up with the idea of the project by himself, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this was seemingly kind of came out of nowhere, and obviously was a nostalgic factor for anybody growing up in the 90s in general with the show. And I was a little bit late to the game with them. I watched them for the first time maybe a year ago, both of them, and I thought they were better than I was expecting them to be. So I think going into them with low expectations, like I did, definitely made me enjoy them a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy them. I just never saw Jack Black as an R.l Stein lookalike, and that's the biggest thing that kept me away from them to begin with, is just the fact that he looks nothing like R.l Stein or acts like nothing like R.l Stein and is just not believable as an R.l Stein. So this is kind of like a parallel universe R.l Stein I think Jack Black was bringing to the project, because his personality even is just, they're nothing alike. If you know the real life R.l Stein, they're just nothing alike. So but it's cool. It's a cool film. What we have going on in the first one is this kid named Zach is moving from Detroit to this place named Madison in Delaware. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's no actual Madison in Delaware. I could be mistaken. There could be one. My apologies if there is. But as of what I think, it's a made-up town. So they moved to Madison, Delaware. He moves with his mom. His dad had recently passed away. And he gets there, and his neighbor is coincidentally R.l Stein. And R.l Stein has a daughter named Hannah, who he meets while he's unpacking his stuff and everything. They get to know each other. She's a cute girl. He, forms a crush on her pretty much instantly. And she's very sheltered. Immediately, R.l Stein comes to the window and basically tells him to stay away from her, pretty much. But they get to know each other. She takes him, funny enough, to this abandoned carnival. And apparently this abandoned carnival still has fully functioning electricity and lighting and everything, which she obviously, like, she knows where the switch is, and she turns this whole carnival on that's supposed to be abandoned. So gotta obviously suspend your disbelief on that. I really like his aunt in this movie. His aunt is named Lorraine. The mom's name is Gail. So the aunt is named Lorraine, and I just wrote down horny aunt because she's always talking about men she's dating, and she's always talking about how desperate she is for like a boyfriend and a partner, and she just never stops. She's going on and on. She's that talkative, cool aunt who wants to be like cool and hip, but you know, doesn't land the part kind of thing. It's just hilarious how every comment that she makes on anything has to do with some guy that she has a crush on or that she knows or that she's trying to get to know, and how like just how obsessed she is with dudes. It's hilarious. But there's a point where Zach notices that there's some kind of weird domestic stuff going on in the house next door, and it sounds like there's a fight between Hannah and her dad, and he goes to be the hero and everything. Eventually, at one point, he even breaks into R.l Stein's house by tricking R.l Stein that the police want him or something, and then he goes with his new best friend, I could say, or new friend of the town, Champ, who I've recognized in many movies. Usually, quite often he plays really annoying characters, to be honest. And this one, it's no different in the fact that he plays like the geeky, nerdy, kind of annoying kid. But in this specific role, I don't know if it's because he grew as an actor. He's more like mature now, and he probably got better at acting in general. But he lands the part. He's really funny. You're kind of laughing with him instead of at him, which I usually do whenever I see him pop up in a film. Usually I'm laughing at him, no offense, but in this role it's a breath of fresh air. He does a better job than he's done, or that I've seen him do in other projects. But so good on him for growing as an actor. But yeah, they decide to break into R.l Stein's house to kind of snoop around. They find big shelf of manuscript Goosebumps books, basically, and they're all locked with a padlock. Every single one of them. There's like hundreds, and of course they find the key to one of them and they unlock it, and then it basically turns into this whirlwind, and the abominable snowman comes out. So the first monster to wreak havoc on this town is the abominable snowman of Pasadena, for anybody who remembers the Goosebumps books. I like the array of monsters that they bring out of these books. You get Slappy, obviously. Slappy is basically the face of these Goosebumps films. He's the main villain that kind of runs the show, but you get a slew of Goosebumps monsters. I don't know if they added any new ones. Like, there's a situation where a prime mantis from one of the Goosebumps books comes out, but even R.l Stein in the movie mentions that he doesn't remember writing that. There's this wolf that comes out called the Werewolf of Fever Swamp. I don't remember if that was a Goosebumps book or not. I definitely was a fan of Goosebumps when I was younger, but I certainly did not read all of the like hundred and some Goosebumps books that have come out throughout the years. So I don't know every single story, but they bring the gnomes from Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. I did remember that one, and I do remember loving that one. That one was really funny. And it's like a family version of Cabin in the Woods, for anybody who watched Cabin in the Woods, where you get a slew of all kinds of horror monsters in one movie. I'd say this film, both of them, I'll say for both of them, are directed to kids more than they are to adults. For the most part, like, it's not one of those movies that like throws in some jokes here and there that the adults will get. It's definitely driven very kid friendly. The score is very kiddish, very childish. But it doesn't hurt the movie, in my opinion. I still had a good time with it. It's a good popcorn family movie. It's nothing that's going to, overload in just corniness and immaturity. I really like how we get a graveyard scene with zombies. Graveyard scene with zombies always sell me pretty much. And I really, really found it hilarious when they make a Stephen King joke. They make a few throughout the films, but one including The Shining, because R.l Stein goes into this rant about how Stephen King sucks at writing, and he's released way more books than Stephen King ever has, and it turns into this whole like situation where R.l Stein gets played by Jack Black gets all triggered because Zach starts making fun of the Goosebumps books and says that R.l Stein is a better writer and all that. And then they make this joke where R.l Stein needs to find a quiet place to write the last book to get rid of all the monsters that are wreaking havoc in town. And he finds this stage where they are doing a play version of The Shining. So that's the only quiet place he can find, is on a stage where they're basically have The Shining on Broadway or whatever. It's pretty funny. And then we have this whole like Attack of the Monsters situation at a high school dance, and there's a lot of CGI in this film, as to be expected, because they're not going to use a lot of practical effects in a film like this. But I don't see either of these films becoming like cult classics. Maybe cult classics, but definitely not like, classics, like Goonies or Gremlins or anything like that. I don't think these films will ever hit that kind of fan base. Maybe they will. You never know. I'm just taking a guess here. But they seem like they serve their purpose, and they're a lot of fun. I just don't know about decades to come if they're still going to be extremely popular. But they are above average in my opinion, and I do have a blast with them for what they are, like I said. And there's a lot of fun moments in it, and there's a lot of fun monsters in it, and there's a lot of fun nostalgia in it. Even though, as I mentioned in the beginning of the review, it doesn't hit the feeling that the books had, and especially being that it feels definitely like a other universe of R.l Stein. It's just not the same. It's its own monster, you could say. no pun intended. And I absolutely love the cameo from R.l Stein. That was brilliant. You have to have a cameo from R.l Stein in Goosebumps. Like, come on. And R.l Stein played by Jack Black and Mr. Black, who R.l Stein plays, are both school teachers. And R.l Stein, the real R.l Stein, passes by Jack Black and says, "Good morning, Stein." And then Jack Black's R.l Stein says to the real R.l Stein, "Good morning, Black." So there's that whole pun and irony going on. I really like that. That was clever. I like that. So know who you are going into Goosebumps, and definitely turn your brain off. Just have a good time with it and roll with it, because there's a lot of fun moments to be had. And you know, don't be a bump in the log when it comes to a movie like this. You know, it's designed to be exactly what it's meant to be. So take it or leave it, up to you. But I do recommend it for a good time. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. And until next time, have a good one, take care, and cheers.